Hello, fellow translators. Today I'm going to show you a sample from my talk that I did for CATI, for the Carolina Association of Translators and Interpreters. I did a talk for them, Freelance Translators, you can translate, but can you freelance? And within it, I talked about various things. I talked about resumes for translators when they're working from home, how to network when working from home, and how to find good clients when working from home. Obviously, you can see the theme, that's working from home. And I covered, quite a few things here. I only had an hour's worth of time, actually 45 minutes because I needed time for Q&A. But I covered, once again, how to create resumes for translators, resumes for freelancers in general, people who are looking for freelance jobs when working from home. And this is very different from resumes for people who are looking for 9-to-5 jobs. And I go into that a bit. Then I talk about how to network when working from home, which is a big thing because we're all stuck at home and we still need to find ways to network. And then I talk about how to find good clients, how to discern the good clients, and how to make sure you can maintain relationships with them, and also make sure you get paid and stuff like that, all while working from home. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to share the whole thing with you. I think that's unfair. People paid to have access to, first of all, to be members of CATI, and then to actually access the webinar. And actually, it was a whole day. It was a conference. It was the yearly conference, the annual conference of CATI, which we do in person, but this time was obviously done online. However, people do pay for it, and so it's not fair to them to actually post the whole thing for free. But what I want to do is post just the first part. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to see how it works best. I might do just the part for resumes or a little, sprinkling of each. I need to start editing and see how that works best. But I just wanted to kind of give you a part of it. I am going to feature the whole thing for sale up on my website. So I'll put a link to that down in the description below. But again, it's not fair to give it away for free when other people had to pay for it. So yeah, hopefully you can find it at least a little bit useful. And if you do think it will be useful in all, then feel free to, once again, check out the description below and where I link to it, and you can actually purchase the whole thing. That's pretty much it, and I will see you inside the webinar talk.
Start now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thank you for coming to the meeting. We are going to have a presentation by Robert Lugano. He has been translating for a very long time. He started translating documents in high school for extra money. That continued throughout college, grad school, and beyond, and then it became his career. He's an Italian and English translator. He earned a living from freelance translation, working remotely, conducting all of his business online. And after opening his agency, Lugano Translations, he continued to conduct his business online, both in terms of finding clients and hiring translators. He now lives in Charlotte with his wife and daughter, and he's going to teach us about translating and freelancing. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for that introduction. I guess I can start now?
You may.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that introduction. And once again, this is called Freelance Translators. You can translate, but can you freelance? And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but we'll get into it if I can figure out how to work this. There we go. The three topics that we're going to be discussing here, the three main topics are, first of all, resumes for translators working from home, as opposed to resumes for people who are working in-house or as employees. And we'll talk about the differences there and what you need to target and what you need to specify, etc. Because when people are hiring a freelancer or someone working from home, they're looking for very different things. They're not looking for a client or a colleague or something, or they're not looking for a colleague or a long-term employee, but for a freelancer. So we'll get into that a bit more. Also, we're going to talk about how to network when working from home. This is a big one because we all need to network, but if we're stuck at home and we can't go outside and meet people, it's very hard to network. So we're going to talk about that. And last but not least, about how to find good clients when working from home. And this entails like how to establish and maintain a relationship with good clients once you've found them, all while you're working from home. You'll notice there's a trend here among these three topics, and that is working from home. And so the reason for this is because right now it's very important, obviously, working from home. And I've noticed quite a few people are they're basically thinking they can wait it out. And they're thinking that, okay, this is a year of hiatus and then later things will get back to normal. However, it seems more and more that this is sort of becoming the new normal. And a lot of companies seem likely to be sticking with this. A lot of companies who maybe did have in-house employees before, but have been switching more and more to freelancers, seem likely to stick with this. Let's face it, even before COVID, it was sort of slowly going toward this more and more. And it seems like COVID is kind of what made the decision for everyone. So yeah, companies are likely to stick with this. And what are the reasons? Well, first of all, they realize that there's very little overhead when they're dealing with freelance employees. They don't have to worry about getting the office space. They don't have to worry about health insurance payments, stuff like that. Second of all, it's easy to hire and fire freelancers. Let's face it, they don't have to have a yearly contract or anything like that. They find someone for a job, hire them, and then they can find someone else for another job if they wish. And also, they can hire talent from all over the world. They don't have to be limited to their metro area, but they can hire people from anywhere, and this gives them a lot more choice. Now, I don't want to make it seem like, okay, we're stuck in this situation and we don't like it and we have to do whatever they want. Like, life is good for the agencies, but not for us, because quite frankly, I would prefer working from home to working as an employee any day of the week. And the reasons are kind of similar. Let's face it, we can pick and choose our own clients when we work from home. We can also switch between them quite easily, and we can decide if we want to work with this client or with this other client. And last but not least, well, actually not last, you can find your clients worldwide, which is great, because you can, especially for us who are translators, chances are we deal with at least 2 different languages. So these deal with at least 2 different countries that feature these languages, that speak these languages. And so we can now try to find clients, not necessarily just in our metro area, but anywhere worldwide or wherever they speak or use our languages. And here, last but not least, you can work from home, which is something that I think at least I enjoy doing. And I think that way we can kind of be more relaxed. And if you want, you can work from in your pajama pants. In fact, all of you online are working from home now, or I assume you're home right now. So I hope a number of you at least are in your pajama pants. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we just briefly moving on. Sorry, there we go. Just briefly moving on. Who am I? Why am I telling you all this? As Veronica said, I was a freelance translator. I worked as a freelance translator. That's how I earned my living for many years. And I was doing this all as a freelancer. And then gradually I set up my agency, which is the one I run now, a boutique translation agency. And I run it only with freelancers. So this is Freelance Translators, and as well as a freelance, for the web design, for lead generation, for that logo you see there, everything, it was all done with freelancers. So it's just to say that I've been working from home kind of thing. I've been doing it for a while, and I've been working as a freelancer and with freelancers for a while. I also worked for companies, as Veronica mentioned before. I did work, my first job was at a bank back in Switzerland. That's what we do in Switzerland. And then I also worked at a market research agency and in real estate for a bit. So I've seen both sides of this, but here we're going to concentrate on working from home and about the differences. And once again, we're going to start off with the resume. So resumes when working from home. So as I mentioned before, full-time employees, when they are trying to hire someone, they're looking for someone who's a good colleague, a good companion, people to join, say, the company culture, to spend time with at the water cooler, who they can hire and who can then advance in the company. When the people are hiring freelancers, people who work from home, then they're looking for someone who can get the job done, do it well, and hopefully with very little fuss, let's say, who can get it done, and that way they can get on with their work. And so these are 2 very different targets, the very different things they have in mind when they're looking for these freelancers. And so when they're looking over resumes, this is reflected. So after this section, what I'm hoping that you'll be able to do is that you're going to know how to structure your resume in order to maximize the chance of being hired for freelance jobs specifically, as opposed to full-time employment. My points, by the way, and the points that I talk about here are for freelance or for your resume, for freelance resumes, but they'll also pertain to online profiles such as pros.com, LinkedIn, etc., because it's more or less the same information. But when I give it to you, I'm going to concentrate on the freelance resume, every now and then mentioning profiles as well. So, freelance resume, as I said before, is not the same as an employment resume. There are three things that I tend to highlight when I talk about resumes with freelancers. And I have a very bad analogy for this. And this analogy is that it's sort of like a sandwich. And the top bun, the top piece of bread is trust. And you want to highlight trust when you're being hired, because you're being hired online. They don't know you from Adam and Eve. They can't meet you. They cannot shake your hand. They can't get to know you in that sense. So they only see you online. They find you online. And they need to feel that they can trust you first and foremost. So that's why I say that's the top part. Then the middle of the sandwich is the expertise. And this means obviously your translation abilities and skills, and also the abilities and skills in your specialization, whatever it might be, medical, finance, et cetera, et cetera. And then the bottom piece of bread is computer skills. And this is important purely because we're being hired online. We have to send documents back and forth online. We have to communicate with them via chat, via email, whatever it might be. And so just to kind of make them feel a bit safer about it, to show that you have computer skills. A couple of other things also, you don't need to worry that much about gaps when you're working online. A lot of people do worry about this, gaps in their resume. And especially if you've had stuff like if you've been on maternity leave, if you're in between jobs, or if you've been volunteering or just taking time off to backpack somewhere around Europe or something, you don't have to worry about it that much as a freelancer. You don't have to worry that everything that you can talk about what you've been doing for every single year. But more than that, the important thing is that you talk about the things that pertain to the job, and that everything you mention pertains to the job, because that's what they're looking for, someone who can handle that specific job. Also, I recommend that your resumes always be in black and white. A lot of people want to, since they're sending stuff online and since they're freelancers, they try to personalize it a bit too much and try to put colors and designs and all that. I recommend always having it black and white. A lot of people still print out resumes, and so it's a lot better if you have them black and white. And along those lines, also, I recommend having a PDF format. I recently got, in fact, just this last week, I got a resume from someone on a Pages document, I think it is, and it only showed the first page. And it was only later that I realized there were other pages. There were 2 pages in the whole thing, but it only showed the first page. And I don't know what was wrong with it. It might have been my fault, but the fact is, if you send it in PDF format, you don't have to worry about that. So send it in PDF. Don't send it Microsoft Word even or anything like that, because if people are using Mac OS or Windows or this, that, and the other, you never know what's going to happen. So as an example, to kind of go through the resume and show how it should be structured, I decided to choose a real resume that I worked on. Obviously, I changed the name of the person and any identifying data. But this is a real resume that I worked on. She wanted to kind of optimize her resume for freelance translation. She hadn't worked in freelance. She'd been working in-house and doing other stuff. And she wanted to transition to freelance translation. And so I thought this would be a good way to show you the differences there should be in a resume when you're working freelance. I also picked someone, by the way, who doesn't have an ideal resume. This isn't, if I were to make a resume to show you, this wouldn't be how I would structure it, because it's not ideal, but I assume most of you don't have the ideal resume. So I kind of wanted to show you, I thought it was interesting to show you how you can work with what you have. And hopefully this example will help along those lines.